Hey guys, and welcome to season 3 of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and in this season, I get to make my guests laugh, cry, and even make them think about life a little differently with the questions I fire over to them, which digs into their lives and professions a little differently. We even had a chance to change up the intro, giving you a fresh, new sound. I look forward to sharing season 3 of the Us People podcast with you. Let's go.
Hey, my name is Hristo Penchev of UAC Management, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to listen to it everywhere, and make sure to support this great podcast since it really provides all the great value that you are hoping to get from it.
Made up my mind, now's my time to shine. Now's my time to shine.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I am extremely humbled to have Hristo here with me. Hristo is the founder and owner of UAC Management, an independent music management company and establishment in the UK. He is also an author, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, and an official TEDx lecturer. Hristo, thank you so much for coming on the Us People podcast. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. And I need to thank you for your invitation and for providing me the opportunity to just discuss so many different and interesting topics that we've had the opportunity to quickly go through just before starting this podcast, which made me even more excited to have this conversation with you because it's, for me, it's such a pleasure to be able to communicate with like-minded individuals that share the kind of morals and perceptions and understanding that I have. So I'm genuinely very excited to do that. I'm very thankful for the opportunity, and I'm very much, looking forward to see the type of discussions that we'll have.
Yeah, most definitely, me too. Most definitely. So I'm gonna jump into our first question, and which is, could you tell me a bit about your background of where you grew up and how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
I love that question. Basically, I can definitely tell that the circumstances that I grew up into, my family, my surroundings, really massively influenced the way that I am nowadays. Um, Basically, I was born into a very, loving family, but at the same time, a very demanding one too, which had very strict idea in terms of how my life needs to be arranged and how it needs to be formed. Obviously, as every child, it's very difficult to find balance in terms of what is expected from you and what you want to do in reality, which happened to me as well and put me into that journey to find what I really want to do and what I'm good at as well.
Yeah.
Um, I would consider myself an introvert. So I've always found peace and comfort in doing things that are not necessarily related with other people. From young age, I loved reading, I loved music, I loved watching movies, I loved art in general. I was really fascinated by the idea of finding something that gives you the opportunity to express yourself. To really showcase the full capacity of your identity, of your own personality, and just resulting in something beautiful. If this makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It sure does.
So, when I was in, I would say probably middle school, um, I decided that music is the art form that I'm really interested in because I connected with it so much. It provided me with the outlet, with the um, with the ability to do what I've always been aiming and striving to do.
Yeah.
And for one period of time, I was visualizing my future in music through undertaking the role of a performer, through being a musician, you know.
Yeah.
However, I set myself on that path. I really invested myself into this process, but um, considering that as a person, I'm quite analytical, I'm quite rational. I'm very much a person of objectivity, if I can say so, in terms of always trying to assess the different situations that I'm being presented in with from an objective perspective. So one day I just came to the conclusion that my personal qualities, my personal characteristics are not that suitable to um, being an artist in terms of me being, as I've said, more rational, more analytical, which is kind of contradicting with the role of being a genuine artist. So I just came to the conclusion that my profile is way more suitable to actually helping artists to succeed, through providing expertise, my way of thinking, which combines both appreciation to artistry, but at the same time provides lots of objectivity and rational outlook on everything that's happening. So that's how I came to the idea that probably the management role is the one for me because it still gets me involved into music, into art, but at the same time it gives the opportunity to my strong qualities, to my strength to really shine as well and actually be suitable and beneficial to other people since as I mentioned to you during our quick conversation before the podcast, I've always been fascinated by the concept of art because
Yeah.
it helps you to impact other people, and that's something that um, I'm really I've really established as a main end goal in life in general for myself. So I've graduated as a civil and structural engineer, by the way.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, and this is the aspect of my life that I've referred earlier in terms of that was the plan of my parents and of my family in terms of my professional development. Because I'm coming from a family with very strong, I would say, involvement in the construction industry. So I've always been meant to be involved into this sphere. However, during my period in uni, I've started my own company, UAC Management. Actually, my involvement in the music business started a couple of years prior, since I was working as a journalist, which really helped me to meet a lot of great musicians and great people, to establish my connections, to get even more in-depth understanding of the dynamics within the music business, and really put me on the path of reaching the goals that I wanted to achieve at this point in life.
I love that. And you've got so many different things about you. See, that's the beautiful thing about life. We have a tendency to look at people and only see what they tell us. But then when you get to the depth of them even more and have a more deeper conversation, you find that there's so much more than the title that they tell you they are.
You're so right. And I'm generally so happy to even talk with a person who understands this concept because I myself, I'm a firm believer that people are so much more than what they work, than what they achieve,
Exactly.
than what they say. And a big problem for me in the music business is that, and not just in the music business, in society in general, is that most of the people are so cynical in this way.
Yeah.
They just see labels, they just see accomplishments, they just see achievements, and they don't appreciate the actual personality of a man. You know, um, and even that was my main goal. Where we established with UAC management, we established our media platform where we're interviewing high-end and successful musicians and people from the music business. And my goal was exactly this: to showcase the personalities rather
Yes.
than the profiles. I wanted to showcase what these people are, what their characteristics are, rather than asking them, what's the meaning behind their bank name or whatever the case might be. So yeah, you're exactly right, and I'm very happy that you appreciate that concept as well.
No, I definitely do. I would love for people to know even more about you by me asking you this question, which is, can you define who you are as a person? And who do you see when you look in the mirror? But on the flip side of that question, has there ever been a time where you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage to come back to be the positive person who you are today?
Oh, that's such a fantastic question. Well, doubling down on what I said earlier, whenever someone asks me to tell a bit more about myself or describe myself, I always try to avoid saying stuff about my professional profile, about my accomplishments, about what I do, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah,
And I try to just provide understanding on my personal traits and characteristics. So I guess I would describe myself as I mentioned earlier, as an introvert. I'm also a very moral person. Um, I very much appreciate um, the decent connection and the decent relationships between people. For me, that's of incredible importance. I would say that I'm very ambitious. I'm very, um, let's say that I'm a very responsible person as well in general.
yeah.
But, yeah, in general, in overall, I would describe myself just as a simple man. In terms of
Aw.
that, for me, I guess as every other person on earth, obviously the end goal is to be happy, to achieve happiness and stuff like that. And the thing with me is that in order for me to experience happiness, I really don't need that much. I just want to be surrounded by decent people, by decent personalities, and to be able to do what I love to do. You
That's true.
know,
Yeah.
and yeah, in this case, I don't really like to overcomplicate things, and I try to neglect the way that the society affects this sort of thinking in most of people.
No, that's true.
And in terms of your second question, throughout the years, I've had a couple of situations where I looked myself, into the mirror, and I couldn't really recognize myself in terms of, you know, um, how in order to, there are two different spheres in life, obviously the personal and the professional one. And sometimes, in order to achieve the progress and the results that you want into your professional sphere, you have to undertake different roles and to act differently than what you would act as in your personal life. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's in my situation, considering that I'm dealing with a couple of businesses and I'm working with a lot of people and stuff like that. in order to keep everything in order, sometimes I have to be more direct. I would say even critical, harsh, and sometimes I really just have to be pushing in order to make sure that the right results are being achieved, or to make sure that a certain person is achieving their full potential. You know,
Yeah.
and I would say that in general in my personal life, that's not necessarily a part of my nature, um, because I'm always a fan of the diplomatic solution. I don't want to get into arguments with people. I don't enjoy being difficult or aggressive,
Oh,
or whatever the case might be. But the fact of the matter is that sometimes you have to be in life in order to achieve what you need to achieve and to help the people the way you want to help them. You
yeah,
know,
I agree there.
and in these sorts of situations, I'm just assessing these sort of moments from the perspective of that I'm doing what's best for the people that I'm working with and for the general outcome of things. You know,
Yeah.
so I guess I'm trying to always keep the idea of the objectiveness, and I'm trying to neglect my own personal feelings and preferences when it comes to getting to the stage where we need the results that are bigger than myself. If this makes
Chris,
sense.
Crystal, what is the hardest question that you've ever had to ask yourself? That sometimes we have to ask ourselves some very hard truths.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to ask you that question because you work with so many people, and I know you have great intentions for them. And I know sometimes, like you said, we have to give people answers and we have to be harsh. And
Yeah,
even though that's not our intention,
yeah.
has there ever been a point in your life where what's the hardest question you've ever had to ask yourself and be truthful about it back to yourself that made you reevaluate who you are?
Uh, I'm loving these questions seriously. Let's see. So in general, as a person, I'm very concentrated on what I want,
Yeah,
and when I want something, and when I set my mind to something, um, I need to achieve it. I'm doing everything to do it, to get what I want, or what I deem as needed. You know, and in some situations, as I'm sure you would agree,
hmm,
there are moments in life where everything is just showing you that those sort of desires are irrational, that they're not good for you even, and that objectively the best decision is just to let it go. You
yeah,
know. However, I found myself multiple times in situations where I so strongly want something, I so strongly want to achieve it, and um, despite all the signs that my desires rational and not good, and not objectively you know um, reasonable. Um, I've put myself into the mindset where I would still continue to go towards this specific goal. Um, and the hardest question I've asked myself is exactly in these sorts of situations where um, I had to think and just ask myself whether what I'm doing and what I'm investing myself into makes sense. And
yeah,
this is being very difficult and hard for me, because it means that I have to realize and accept that what I want firstly wouldn't be possible. That I have to forget about it, or I have to leave it on the side and just continue on a path that I may not find um, I may not find that satisfying or desirable. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess this is the main hard questions that the main hard question that I still need to deal with. You know, just to um, this is just when I'm asking myself whether what I have been thinking is relevant. You
Yeah.
know.
That makes sense. I totally understand where you're coming from because I think we've all been in a similar situation, obviously a different situation, but with the outcome coming to be the same, if that makes sense, where we learn from it. That definitely makes sense.
Precisely, precisely. It's a difficult concept to grasp and to perceive.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
I would love for you to walk us through a day in your life. So if I was with you
yeah.
for a day, which I would totally love, by the way, I
Thank
think
you.
we would have a great conversation and a great day, I believe, you know? So
Yeah.
if I was with you for a full day and I said to you, could you walk me through your life from the morning you wake up, from the moment you wake up, to the events that you do within your day, to helping creatives, for you being business minded, for you getting, you know, your business mind to full effect and full capacity where you feel like you are doing great things, to the moment in the evening where you feel like it is time to rest. What is a day like in your life?
Well, I would say that I actually have a very um, boring routine if I need to.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, I definitely agree that everything that I do, sometimes it's very exciting and it's very interesting, which is for me as well. However, if I need to explain it, it wouldn't sound as exciting as people might expect. So, firstly, I wake up quite early in the morning, so something like half 5, 6 a.m. around that time. I really like to start my day as early as possible, since this just puts me into the right mindset. After that, considering that with the company we are representing clients from all over the world, from the US, from Europe, from Australia. So, these are pretty much all the time zones in the world that you have. Um, and due to that, obviously, we have different members from our team who are positions in those locations as well, which means that from the early morning to late at night, I'm, I need to be prepared for having calls during during any point in the day, you know.
Yeah.
So whenever I start my day, I pretty much start with doing calls almost immediately. Obviously, a big part of what I do is just, as you can imagine, is just being involved into communication, whether that's emails, whether that's chats, or whatever the case might be. Which again is pretty much the big part of my day. Um, I always aim to find some time for reading. I always aim to find some time to exercise or go to the gym, even if it's just for, um, to find some mental relief, and to put my mind out of things and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I would say that's pretty much it. Especially during the past couple of years with the pandemic, obviously before that, I had to travel a lot between different countries. I spent a lot of time in gigs and meeting with bands and with groups and going to after parties and all that fun stuff that people will probably find more interesting and exciting.
Aw.
Yeah. But during the past few years, it's all very condensed. It's all very organized in a strict manner. So it's pretty much all talking, all being on calls, writing emails, communicating with different people, filling the documentation and accounts and all that fun stuff. You know, and with the hints of just enjoying my hobbies. Just playing music, reading, watching movies, going out with people, and going out with friends. And yeah, I would say that my routine is very similar to most of the people's routine as well. It's just I guess during the main part of the day, I'm just very much enjoying what I do, considering that I'm in communication and connecting with fantastic people who are passionate and dedicated to what they do, and we're sharing um, similar passions in life.
Christo, you know it's the people in the background that make the big things happen, right?
Yeah, I've proved this to myself so many times now. It's really interesting because even nowadays, when people are admiring a certain artist, and which they definitely should, because in the end of the day, it's the artistry that prevails.
Yeah,
But
it's true.
people into um, really be fascinated by certain artists, and they tend to keep them all responsible for the success they generate. And for me, that's it's normal. At the same time, I find it a bit unfair because from the people in the music business, and I'm sure that you would agree with that, when you know that there are managers and publicists and photographers and graphic designers and booking agents and label representatives and whatever, who are so much involved into the success of an artist, it's so upsetting for me at some times that these people are not getting the praise that they deserve. So
Yes, I agree.
yeah,
I totally agree with you, and I've seen that happen many times.
yeah, fortunately.
But it's like I said, it's people like yourself in the background. Obviously, the people in the front, out of the box, who are the fans, who come to see these bands, don't realize all the work that goes into it. They just see the end product,
Yeah,
whereas we get that beautiful journey of seeing the artists when they've just started to when they become creative, when they go into recording sessions, or record their first single or album or EP, to getting a publishing deal, to getting their music on the radio. There's so many things I could go across
yeah,
with
yeah.
all these and royalties and so on, and contracts that I can go and talk about. And I love all this stuff. Some people might find it boring, like you said, but I love all the background work of it. But it shows you the greatness of who you are and how determined you are to get it.
Thank you, thank you. I very much appreciate that because, as you said, I find it unfair that some of these people who are in the background are not getting the praise that they deserve. But at the same time, I've put myself into the mindset where I'm not doing what I do to get a prize or to be recognized. For me, the main satisfaction is coming from exactly those moments that you mentioned, from seeing how an artist is flourishing, is achieving the
Yeah,
results that we've all been working towards to, and to see that people are enjoying that too. Because for me, this is the main reward. These are the situations uh, that are pretty much labeling what I do. And this is what I do what I do, just to get these sort of results. So it's fantastic. It's fantastic, and it's for me. It's so satisfying to see the journey of a band that I've started working with to the level we've all been aiming to get to. I'm not a parent myself yet, but these sort of situations are really giving me proud father moments.
You see?
See
Oh,
a group that I've been working with get to the level that they and we all collectively want them to get to. You know,
of course.
yeah.
Most definitely. I would love for you to share what UAC management actually does.
Yeah. So US Management is an artist management company, and that's the official label of things. However, when I've established the company and when I was thinking and designing the concept that we'll be following with our business model, I really wanted to create something unconventional in terms of the dynamics of work operations and the methodologies that we implement in what we do. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't want to follow the same patterns and to follow formulas and to do exactly the same thing as every other management company in the world. I wanted to create something unique, something that is distinguishable, something that is distinctive in comparison with um, every other party that has similar role in the music business. So I wanted to establish our own cycle of activities, our own action frame, our own approach to everything that we do. So yeah, although obviously artist management is our main role, um, I want to create something, a unified link, a unified platform that has the capacity and the capabilities to provide absolutely everything that is relevant to an artist's career to the artists and to our clients. You know, so um, we very much cover all different aspects that are related to a career in the music business, from artist development, PR, booking, utilizing the capacity of the social media platforms nowadays in the process of finding the right demographic groups for our clients to optimize the levels of monetization for them, and ultimately just be able to provide the opportunity to develop sustainable careers for the clients that we're working with. And what I'm really proud of when it comes to our model is that we're not just concentrating on the business side of things, on the professional aspect of this whole process, but we're very much concentrated and we're very much emphasizing the idea of personal development when it comes
Yes.
to this process. Since and I'm sure you would agree, the the concept of personal development and really be able to modify and improve your personal qualities is so important and it's so important, essential, and crucial in terms of developing a career in art. Just because in the end of the day, your artistic product is a perfect and direct representation of who you are as a person,
Definitely.
who you are as a professional. So I always start from that. I always want to make sure that the people that we're working with have the right motivation, that have the right understanding, that have the right passion for music and the right dedication. Because in the end of the day, if you are in it for the wrong reasons, you would never succeed. Uh,
Yes.
so yeah, I would say that we're using this sort of an integrated approach when it comes to rendering our services, because I don't just want to generate, objective results. I want to make sure that the people I'm working with are succeeding in the process of um, reaching their ambitions and finding happiness in what they do. because in the end of the day, for every person that is interested and involved in art, such people find happiness in just being able to showcase to the world their talent. So yeah, that's the ultimate goal, and what we've been trying to achieve through a variety of different methods.
I don't think it's what you're trying to do. I think it's what you're doing, which is a great thing.
Thank you.
You know, once you put something into action, then for me, you're doing it. You know,
Exactly.
you're
Exactly.
doing it and you're seeing different results all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you've worded it perfectly. And this is a concept that I've mentioned in my book. It's not what you do; it's how you do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you mentioned it perfectly.
I would love to ask you, there's three words that I think are very, very powerful in a lot of the things we do in life. Excuse me, which is, I was going to ask you, how do you find your clarity and your courage, but also within the choices that you make to do what you're doing within your company and also with the artists?
Mhm. Um, it's a very complex process that went through multiple different stages throughout the years.
Yeah.
You know, now the company has been active to close to 10 years. Uh,
Wow.
and yeah, and this process uh, you know, uh, has went through significant evolution. In different stages of our activity, I had, phases where I based all my decisions just on a gut feeling. I had a phase where I was basing every decision that I needed to make on objective factors, on rational and objective factors. I've had situations where I've tried to use a combination of both, and now, you know, I'm in a situation where I'm basing quite a lot on my intuition, you
Yeah.
know, because I've realized that despite the nature of every business venture, which implies some sort of analytical approach and being, objective with everything that you do, in the end of the day, it you have to make sure that you're putting your own and unique identity and ideas in what you do, because
Yeah.
this is what is um, is making things distinguishable. This is what sets you apart from everyone else. And in the end of the day, not just in the music business, but in life in general, according to myself, obviously, and that's my opinion. But if you want to be successful, you have to be different. You have to be unique. You have to make sure that you're not following another person's steps, or just some patterns or formulas or whatever the case might be, because I find it quite logical. In the end of the day, you can't be first at something if you're doing whatever someone else is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that utilizing my own way, my own understandings, and I'm just formulating them in an objective way.
No, I totally love that and I totally understand it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
I totally understand it. If there was one question that you wished people would ask you more often, but nobody ever really does ask you that question, what would that question be? He's laughing already. What would that question be,
Now,
and why?
that's fantastic. That's so funny you asked me that, because just to give you some context on my reaction, I mentioned earlier that I've worked as a journalist. Obviously, now we have this media platform where we're interviewing a big level artists and stuff like that. And my key question from my early days as a journalist has always been, "What's the question you've never been asked but you always wanted to answer?"
Exactly. Yeah, I like it.
And I love that. This I'm getting this one now. Uh, Let me think. That's so interesting. Um, hmm. Honestly, I think it's something that you touched on earlier, and something that we've actually discussed earlier as well. Um, it's just sort of questions that are more related to my personality rather than what I necessarily do. You know, don't get me wrong. I love talking about what I do. It's my biggest passion, and it's such a joy to just get the interest about that and me being capable to further elaborate on my activities. But sometimes I just miss the genuinity of people just being curious about me as a person, in terms of what sort of movies I like, or what sort of music I enjoy, or these sort of things that are creative more to my personality rather than who am I as a professional. It just makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does make sense. It
Yeah,
totally does make sense.
yeah. So it's those type of things, I guess.
I like it. I like it.
Thank
If
you.
there, no, you're welcome. If there was one song that was the soundtrack of your life, I would love to know what this is.
Oh wow.
If there was one song that was the soundtrack of your life, what song would it be and why would you choose that song?
Oh Jesus, that's so funny because I guess that's funny as well. You know, I tend to randomly think about such questions. So, but and I used to have a certain answer to this question as well, but I can't think of it right now. Just give me a second. I'll try to remember.
Okay, it's all
Uh,
right.
this one song. Uh, hmm. Honestly, it would be difficult to do because I, I've been through so many different phases of life and phases of thinking and perceptions that it's very difficult to find one song that can sort of summarize it all.
Yeah, that's true.
But hmm. No, this is genuinely very engaging question. I wish I had a really nice answer for it, but I guess it would be. I guess it would be something by Chet Baker, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because in the essence of it, I've always been very fascinated, and I've always been very, um, connected with his dedication to his art.
Yeah.
And I, I guess that might be a good answer. I just feel very associated with his understanding of life in general.
No, I like it. It's a perfect answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a perfect answer. So, what would you do differently if nobody was judging you? The reason why I asked this question is because a lot of the time we get judged based on how we look, who we are, what our titles are, which is what you said before. And I
Yeah,
love that. But if there was no judgment in the world, what do you believe that you would do differently?
honestly, that's a great question. Uh, honestly, um, I would do everything the same because I'm never basing my decisions on the way people perceive them.
That's
You know,
good.
um, so I don't think this will change anything because I'm my own biggest critique. You know,
That's true. Yeah.
and I'm always basing my decisions on my own moral code and my understanding. And I know that this might sound very self-centered and egoistical, but I choose to be like that because, as I said earlier, I have very strong moral code that most of the time, and again, I don't want to sound pretentious, but it's just stronger than most of the people's, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm satisfied and happy to for my understanding since I believe it puts me into the right positions. And besides, I don't feel like complying with people's judgments because if a if a person has a judge personality, then his understanding and his perceptions are not the most quality ones. Because if a person is spiritually developed, they wouldn't necessarily judge. If this
That's
makes
true. Yes, that is true.
So for me, these are the sort of people that you don't necessarily need to, take into consideration. Because if it's a person who has the right moral value and possesses an opinion that it makes sense for you to comply with, then they wouldn't judge you. So yeah, I guess that would be my answer with that. It's
Do you,
just
you hit it on the head. You hit that right on the head
thank you.
because that's how I feel about life. And I'm sure when we were speaking before, just before we started
Mhm.
the podcast, the one thing I did say is no judgment,
Yeah, exactly,
you
exactly.
know? So I totally agree with you there.
Yeah, and I wish more people would realize that because getting free of those unnecessary needs to comply with people who, for sure don't have the right or the quality for you to take into consideration can change a lot of things for a person, you know?
That's true.
So yeah, hopefully this is a tendency at least will change somehow in the future within the society. Although I'm sort of a skeptic, but as you've mentioned before we started, I have to be more positive. So I'll do that. I'll just hope for the best.
No, you'll be fine. Listen, it's everything with time. Everything in life is with time, and I think that's one of the lessons I learnt, and I take it with me wherever I go. So that's the best thing. Crystal, I only have two more for you, and I've loved our conversation. It's been so nice. My second to last question for you is if, well, let me say it again in a different way. When you feel like you have done everything in the world that you feel you wanted to do and needed to do to be the person who you are and want to become, what would you like your legacy to be and how would you like people to remember you?
Oh. um, okay, now it's this is a very valuable and important question for me, and I'll tell you why. From an existential point of view, um, as I mentioned earlier, I've always set certain goals for myself that I wanted to achieve because I thought that such goals would bring me happiness and bring
Yeah,
value in my life, and so on and so forth. Um, However, a few years ago, um, I found myself in a situation where I have achieved everything that I've dreamt of, everything that I planned for myself. You know, I I had my own business, I had my own book. Literally, my biggest idol, the person that I got involved into the music business that inspired me to do everything, became not just one of my best friends, but a business partner as well.
Yeah.
And literally, I got myself into a situation where I've achieved all my goals. And for some people, this might sound as the happy ending, that you completed the game, but for myself, it opened more questions because I've achieved all of that, and I was like, okay, so then what? You
Yeah.
know, I need, in order for me to be efficient, to be productive, to be happy, I need to go after something, you know. However, there wasn't anything that I would go after in this particular moment. So I asked myself whether, achieving happiness is related with achieving a certain goal, or is more of a feeling about self-perception, you know. Um, and this moment helped me to understand that achieving certain goals and certain accomplishments don't necessarily mean that you achieve satisfaction and comfort and happiness. It's about the way that you feel about yourself, the way that you perceive everything around you, and just having, just more of a spiritual manner of thinking.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
um, so um, I set my goal to I set my goal to always do what I can to make sure that I help people with whatever I do. You know, so this is my ultimate goal, and this would be the main thing that I would be happy and I would feel complete if people associated me with. You know, if people, in whatever amount of years, would associate my name with a person who helped them in some way, or to know that I dedicated everything that I do towards the goal of supporting art and supporting people, and make sure that I have positive impact on everyone around me, that would be my life goal achieved. You know.
I think you're definitely on that path, like I always say.
Thank you.
You're
I so much appreciate that because genuinely I'm so dedicated to that, and I just that's just what I want. That's what brings me comfort. That's what brings me satisfaction and joy in general.
do you know I find what's really beautiful about people is that, especially even yourself, when I say this, it's about you can feel the passion of what they do and how they feel about it when they talk about it, because they get really sentimental and they get really emotional about it. So I always feel that when I am listening to somebody's voice. And that's why when interviewing somebody, it's not just about having the interview, it's about also taking in their emotions and understanding why they are saying what they are saying with the voice and the tone of their voice. It's very complex. It's very complex, but I know that you would understand it, so that's why I said it, and I'm sure many other people would understand it. So that's why I said it. So
Absolutely, absolutely. You're completely right. It's just I think the same. It's I guess that's why the concept of music specifically it's so magical to me as well. Because you can feel when a certain wine is being delivered in a certain way. And
yes,
it hits you so strongly and hits you so hard that you you instantly experience emotional connection with the person who is delivering it or who has created
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
And that's such a, when you think about it, people neglect these sort of details that they're taking for granted. But when you think about this process, it's just so beautiful. It's so, again, it's just enchanting to me. So yeah, I agree with that.
Oh, perfect. I've had my last question before you. So, but before I have the chance to say thank you for coming on the show, please let everybody know where they can find you on all your social media platforms and where they can contact you wherever you would like them to contact you. Please go for it.
Oh, amazing. I mean, you can find my personal profiles on Instagram. It's the Hristo Penchev. Hristo Penchev is my profile name on Facebook as well. You can find my um, company, UAC Management, just by typing the name on every single platform. My book, Artist Development Essentials, it's available everywhere as well. You can literally just find it by, again, just typing the name in Google or whatever the case might be. And yeah, I just encourage everyone that would be interested in, just talking with myself, or just exploring opportunities for partnership of any sort, just to get in touch with me, and I will be always glad to respond.
See, I love that, guys. You heard that? There is an opportunity for Hristo to talk to you. Please send him an email or a message. He's a really nice person to speak to.
Thank you.
Hristo, oh, you're more than welcome. Hristo, I want to thank you abundantly so much for coming on the Yes People podcast and talking to me today about your life, about who you are as a person, your wisdom, compassion, and kindness of who you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the invitation as well. I had such a great time just talking with you, and it was a massive pleasure. And yeah, as I said, it's just fantastic to talk with like-minded individuals. And yeah, honestly, thank you so much for doing what you do. And I strongly hope that you'll just continue doing it and just providing more people with the opportunity that you provided to me.
Thank you so much. No, most definitely. And guys, thank you so much for listening to the As People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also donate to the As People podcast by simply going to the Savia Rocks website or typing in paypal.me/Us People podcast. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another.
Time to let it go. Now's my time. Now's my time. Time to let it go. Now's my time. Now's my time. Time to let it go. Now is the time for me to focus. Stop all that playing hocus pocus. Stop doing it yourself. You need a little help. This time I wanna see you shining.
Will do, and likewise, the same goes to you. I definitely hope that we'll stay in touch. Please feel free to, just message me at any point you think I can help or assist you with anything. And yeah, I'll be more than glad to, just keep in touch and be able to talk more. It's fantastic to just talk with people such as yourself. Genuinely.
Time that you let go, time that you let go. Now is my time to shine. Now is my time to shine. Now is my time to shine. Time that you let go, time that you let go. Now is my time to shine. Time to let it go. Now is my time. Now is my time. Time to let it go. Now is my time. Now is my time. Time to let it go. Now is my time. Now is my time. Time to let it go. You are your own worst enemy. Thinking too far, what's ahead of me? One day at a time. Just enjoy the ride. Open those eyes, see the light. Ignite that fire inside it. Let it Push all your fears to the side. Control your mind, it's all alright. Enjoy your life, the joy is mine. Commit to you, you got the tools. Everything you do, you make the rules.